it or not, there is a moment meant for us. And now you made it, but I already played this. Not interested, open your eyes, let's get it done. Take my hand, just follow me. Shadow and me are one.
Welcome everybody to another episode of USA Taekwondo's Summer of Poomsae. We are your chopping it up hosts. I'm Jason Nelson. He's Sherman Poos, and we're happy to be here with you today. How you doing, Mr. Poos?
I'm doing great, Jason.
Somebody's
Nelson.
confused. Somebody's confused. They're like, wait a minute. I've been calling him the wrong name all this time.
No, Sherman, I'm really enjoying the younger competitors. In this case, we're going to start with some of the Utes. I say Utes.
Did you say Utes? Shout out to the whole team at My Cousin Vinny. It was a fantastic movie.
It is.
Shout out to Marissa Tomei.
But no, I mean, coming off of some Dragons and some Tigers competition, now we're getting into the youth competition.
Yeah.
It's been so, for me, it's been so fun watching some of the membership that I've seen throughout competitions, kind of do it in their home environment, if you will. Some of them are doing it in their house, some of them are doing in their dojang or their studio, but just to see them doing it, I'm having so much fun. And the one thing I will say is I cannot believe that these young competitors compete so maturely.
Right. They are adultly focused, but they're still little people. I mean, it's the funny thing is you see some of these kids that we have watched literally grow up in this sport. We're looking at some youth that we remember when they were Tigers and Dragons.
Absolutely.
And the great thing is that hopefully we'll watch them matriculate and become cadets and juniors and Olympians one day and be able to say, man, do you remember when they did the Summer of Poomsae way back in the day? So it's great to see the legacy still living on. We have invested a lot of years in this sport, and to see there are people still willing to make that investment just feels like this is still good ground to sow into. So I'm happy to watch these next generations do their thing.
Yeah, no question. This is semifinal action, and like Sherman said, this is the youth competition. So we've seen them come from Dragons and Tigers. Now we're in some youth. So we've got yellow, green, blue, red, and black. So we've got the entire youth competition semifinals right here, right now. So you guys don't go anywhere. This is the semifinals in the youth competition. We're going to come back on the other side. Sherman? Yes, sir. The sir with the beautiful background and his hand up.
Thank you for recognizing me. I would like to share a dad joke with you.
That's unfortunately disappointing, but go right ahead.
I'm centering myself from your negativity because
I thought you were frozen.
What? Wow, let it go. Hey, you see what I did there? Shout out to Dina Menzel.
Terrible. This is Bush League, people. Bush League here.
What do you call the boss? I'm sorry, dad joke. What do you call the boss at the old McDonald farm?
I don't know. What do you call the boss at the old McDonald
farm? The CIEIO. Oh, how can you not love it? How can you not? On that note, we will see you at the end of this episode. E-I-E-I-O.
Welcome to episode 3 of Summer of Poomsae Youth Competition. This is National Coach Barbara Brand along with Miyako Yerick. Hi, Miyako.
Hi, Coach Brand.
Boy, those guys really know how to chop it up, don't they?
I'm sad that we don't get to see them in person anymore at, events around the country, but I love getting to see them interact, and they're just great people.
They sure are. Hey, our youth male yellow belt semifinal is on the screen right now. This is Ryan John.
And Ryan is from S.J. Lee Taekwondo.
Coached by Master Songjin Lee. And a really strong performance there of Teguk Iljung. So in the semifinal round, all the athletes will do one Poomsae in the yellow belt, green belt, and blue belt divisions. Ryan comes out with a score of 6.7 for Teguk Iljung. All of the athletes in the youth divisions are between 10 and 11 years old.
And this is the youth semifinal episode. So we have color belts all the way up to black belt doing semifinals. Here we go with the youth female yellow belt semis, and we have 3 athletes.
First up is Lin Choi. She's from SJ Lee Taekwondo, also coached by Master Songjin Lee.
Lynn is really taking her time, being nice and deliberate. And she's doing a pretty good job. She's accurate, and those front kicks are getting up nice and high.
Right, she's making sure she has a clean finish. She might want to talk to her master instructor about pulling back those toes for that front kick. That'll be a big gain for her as she moves on toward green belt. Good job to Lin Choi. And her score is 6.83. We have 3 athletes in this division, and all 3 will go on to the finals after the semifinal round. But right now we're going to be deciding who's going to be going first in that final round, right, Miyako?
Right, so we have 3 scores here. Everybody's going to do one form in the semifinals, but then depending on the order of those scores, we'll reverse it. So whoever's in first place out of the 3 right now will then go last in the finals division.
Up next is Olivia Hutchings. She's from Versus Sport Taekwondo, coached by Master Seth Wilson.
And I know we've said this many times, but it's just so great to see so many athletes coming out of some of these dojons. And we've seen Olivia and many of her teammates out of Versus Taekwondo. So they must have a really great location, big space, and it's just great to see so many athletes competing.
And even though she's a yellow belt, she actually looks like one of the athletes there with the most potential so far that I've seen. 6.63. In terms of flow and convection, she did a really good job there. So she's sitting in second place right now, just behind Lin Choi. Up next, we have Michelle Pratt. And Michelle is from Shiba Taekwondo, and she's coached by Master Sheriff Shiba. Well, good job on that front kick retraction, not just letting it fall down, but actually bending it back after the extension is complete.
Right, she's being very careful here. I think once she does it a few more times, you know, these yellow belts are new to Taekwondo. She just needs to get in a few more reps, be a little bit more comfortable, and sink into those stances, and her score will go way up. But she gets a very solid 6.13.
So our youth female yellow belt semifinal is now complete. In first place, we have Lin Choi, followed by Olivia Hutchings and Michelle Pratt. And we'll see all these athletes back in the final round.
Hi, I'm Michaela Zhang, and I'm a 2020 USA National Team member for Cadet Mixed Pairs. And my pair partner is Gavin Zhao. My favorite moment from the 2020 Grand Slam was when me and Gavin, we scored the highest score every round. And I was super proud and just really grateful to have the opportunity to represent my country at the 2020 World Championships. I'm sure Gavin was really happy and grateful as well to take that opportunity. So when I found out that World Championships was canceled, I remember just waking up and my mom got an email saying that World Championships was canceled. So I was really upset and really devastated because not just me and Gavin, but all the national team members, we've all trained so hard for this moment and this opportunity to get to make national team and go represent our country. So I was really upset, and I'm sure everyone else was upset as well, and the coaches. And, you know, I just told myself to push myself harder and to hopefully make national team again in the next 2 years. So when me and Gavin met, it was at the Phase 2 team trials in November. I remember we only had a few days of training, and I was surprised that we were able to pull it off and to make national team. And when me and Gavin met, we had really great communication. And although we were very quiet and we didn't really talk a lot, we had a really great communication. Like we knew how to be in sync within just maybe 3 days of training. So I was really glad we were able to pull it off and to make national team. So with this pandemic, I know it's been really hard to train now, and especially that we don't have, studio to go to, and it's hard to train at home and just logging on to Zoom. But I just want to tell everyone that my favorite quote is "Soar today and stronger tomorrow," because although I just want to give up during training, but that quote always helps me because it always pushes me to push myself harder, because even though you might be sore and you're really tired and you don't want to keep going, just tell yourself, if you push yourself, you'll be stronger tomorrow. Bye, thank you for having me. And I just want to tell everyone to just keep training harder, and even though you want to give up, just push through this pandemic and we could beat COVID together. Thank you.
Up next, we have our youth green belt semifinal. This is Mahdi Akbarin. And Mahdi is from Capital Martial Arts and coached by Master Khaled Saleh.
Right, and they're located in Maryland, Rockville, Maryland. We've seen some seniors competing from this school as well in their master's grade, part of the Maryland State Taekwondo Association. So really great to see all these color belts competing. And we have 8 athletes in this youth male semi, so nice division. All 8 athletes will get to move on to the finals, and Mahdi here gets a 6.47. And since it is just 8 athletes, all 8 will move on to the finals. This just will determine the order that they go in the finals.
태국 2장.
This is Derek Lee. He's from QE Taekwondo, coached by Master Robert Vargas. He's a very deliberate pace here, making sure that he extends those punches all the way. That's very admirable. Some athletes tend to just kind of toss him out there really quick, but he has a good clean finish, not only on the punches, but also in the blocking techniques. Really taking his time, making sure everything is extended. Boom, adding a little extra power there on that last line. That's Derek Lee.
Right, Derek loves Taekwondo. He tries to go there as soon as he gets out of school, helps out as much as he can. And I think you can really tell that dedication in his Poomsae. He really took a lot of care, was showing power. He gets a 6.23.
Up next, we have Asher Wang, and Asher just had his teammates going up just a few minutes ago. He's from SJ Lee, coached by Master Sungjin Lee. He looks like he has done this Poomsae many, many times. You can see his timings, really trying to get a little pop there at the end of all the hand techniques, pulling back that non-striking hand to give him a little bit more power. Really pulling there to extend the blocking technique.
Right, he has a nice click on his legs. You can tell these walking stances nice and locked, nice and tall. And you can see that uniform just kind of pop when he hits these stances. So that's a really nice way to show visible power on the camera.
And everything finished at the exact same time. His foot finished along with his hand technique. He gets a 6.57, so now into first place for Asher Wang.
And this is Teguk 2, Teguk Jang. Had to count there in my head, E. And so this is a second form that these athletes learned. They're green belts, so they've had a little bit of time with it, but not too much.
This is Lucas Yi.
So in Teguk 2, we start getting some variation in the punches. So we have a high punch, which should be at the face height, compared to your regular solar plexus punch, your high block, your low block. So getting some new techniques here, but nothing terribly difficult yet in Teguk Iljang. We're just really still getting to learn our different hand techniques and our stances. And Lucas does a really great job.
And receives a 6.37. Yes, the first Poomsae has 2 front kicks in it, and the second Poomsae has 5. So that's kind of a nice, fun way for athletes to get more work on that technique and then be able to highlight it in a competition just like this. So here are our standings. We have Asha Wang in first, followed by Mahdi Akbaran and Lucas Yi in third. This is Eli Kittredge.
Eli trains with Dixon's Taekwondo. This last part can be pretty hard, right? Because you have those front kicks going backwards, you're punching to the back, but Eli here doing a good job showing that elbow thrust. So using both hands on the punches, and I could see that elbow come back nice and strong. So that's a nice little thing to add on there. And Eli gets a 5.77. So he did take some accuracy hits for some of those stances being a little short, but a good score, and we'll see him again in the finals.
Here we have the standings. Asha Wang in first place, followed by Mahdi Akbaran, Lucas Yi, Derek Lee, and then Eli Kittredge. Up next, we have Timothy Schleff. So we see a starting point there right behind that red square, and if he does the Poomsae correctly, he'll end up in the exact same spot. Some athletes have a difficult time getting back to their spot. They often end up just behind it. That has to do with mainly stance consistency, accurate measurements. So let's see how he does on this one. Something that we haven't really put a lot of attention on in the episode so far, but look at that. Looks like he's really close to his mark. Good job. I'm glad I picked Timothy to. And he gets a big score, 6.53, which should put him into second place. So a little bit of a mix-up here on top of the standings now with that last score. We have Asha Wang in first place, now followed by Timothy Schleff, Mahdi Akbaran, and then Lucas Yi in fourth. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Timothy's brother, Walter Schleff, is now on our screen.
Right, and Walter is 11 years old. Timothy was just 10. But both of them right now in the youth division because it's 10 to 11. But once they turn 12, they will age up into the cadet division.
He has a few pauses going on here in the Poomsae, trying to make sure that his memory is correct and then going on. That's pretty common, right, Miyako? Like a lot of times we get to one spot and we're like, okay, is that the right step? Is that, or was it? And then we just go for it.
Right. Sometimes you just have to do it enough times until it's muscle memory, so that you don't have to think about which move comes next. Walter Schleff here gets a 5.40 going right after his brother. That must be fun. And he comes into 7th place for right now, and we have one more athlete left in this division.
Yeah, and this is Camden Hand. He's from Kwan's Martial Arts, and his coach is Master Viet Nguyen.
시작.
Some athletes, as they're moving through the Poomsae, they tend to look downward. I think that it means that they're kind of focusing on the next step and trying to think it through. We really want to have our eyes straight forward, focusing on an intended target. We're visualizing somebody right in front of us. We want to keep those eyes up and look super confident as we're going through the technique. But I can see why a lot of athletes might do this because they're not used to recording with a camera looking at them. It can be sometimes unnerving for young athletes to, and adult athletes, who am I kidding? Adult athletes too, to have a camera right in front of them. So Camden comes out with a score of 6.2 and into those top 5, I think.
The other thing about looking down is a lot of times you'll look down to check your stance to make sure you're doing it right, but then you don't realize that you do it every step. And so when you're competing, it comes out. So you really want to just actually record yourself before, have your coach watch you, look in a mirror so that you're not looking down every single step to check out those stances.
Continue here with our youth female green belt semifinalist. This is Yi-Young Zhang. And Yi-Young trains down in Southern California with Master Pok Sun Young.
Right, and we are now in the youth female green belt semifinal round here. Again, we have 8 athletes, so we'll see all 8 today here, but then we'll see all 8 again in the final. So it's nice that we're not going to lose everybody. We'll get to see them all twice.
And he comes out with a score of 6.93 for that Poomsae.
준비. 시작.
This is Estella McGraw. Estella trains with Daehan's Martial Arts, coached by Master Christina Tan.
And Estella is doing a great job here. She is very accurate, put together, showing really great composure and good punches. I feel like her hair is a perfect example of her Poomsae. It's very put together, it's very neat and controlled, and I feel like that's how her Poomsae looked. Great.
And she receives a nice high score of 6.87. You know, it's a whole package, right? What you look like matters. How you put yourself together. Do you have a very pristine look about yourself? Is your belt the same length on either side? Does your uniform fit you? Is your hair out of your eyes? Did you make sure you took off all your jewelry before you began? All of those things matter. This is Mara Graham. And Mara is from East West Taekwondo, and her coach is Master Stacy Yu.
Mara also being very accurate here. Nice long stances. She does have long legs, and she's doing a good job at really extending some of those stances and kicks. But she does have a tendency to open up her hand and then grab it and close it in the air as she moves between some moves. So just a little habit. A lot of us have done it. Grab some quarters, try and hold on to them, and we can break that habit pretty easily.
That's such a common error that as soon as we see it, our eye just really gravitates to it. Maybe if people haven't been watching much, they wouldn't catch it. But for athletes that have been around for quite some time, then we notice it right off the bat and say, okay, we got to attend to that real quick, because it can become a pretty strong habit if we're not careful. Here are our standings. We have Yi-Young Zhang in first, followed by Estella McGraw and Mara Graham. Next up, we have Reagan Stutterheim. And Reagan, of course, from Versus Sport Taekwondo, coached by Master Seth Wilson. So some athletes have this kind of up and down kind of rhythm, and in their mind, they're associating that with finishing the motion and also having a little bit of power. But for those that are watching it, it comes out just a little bit differently. So we want to make sure that we take that up and down kind of rhythm out and have a more of a forward motion, like extending through a target rather than up and down.
Right, and I know that different styles do things differently. So ITF Taekwondo actually wants that bounce in your movement. You want wide stances. So it's all just kind of still learning the current style here for WT Taekwondo at this Summer of Poomsae, and Reagan gets a 5.77.
So there are standings so far. Yi-Young Zhang in first, followed by Estella McGraw and Mara Graham. Up next, we have Lorelei Diego, and she's from Quest Taekwondo, and she's coached by Master Robert Vargas.
Huddle.
So that was Lorelei Diego
Shut.
from Quest Taekwondo. She received a score of 6.7. And here are the standings so far in this youth female green belt semifinal round.
준비.
Up next, we have Anjali Joshi.
시작.
And Anjali is from SJ Lee Taekwondo, coached by Master Sunjin Lee.
And Jolly's doing a lot here to really try and get power to come through both in her hand techniques and on her kicks. And she's quite flexible on her kicks, but we do see those elbows coming out and down a little bit. And you just want no extra motion when you're doing those kicks, just your leg to fly up.
Right, she has an athletic physique, so she should be able to just calm that down a little bit. She gets a big score of 7.1, so that thrust for power really did pay off. So just a little calming down of that extra motion will pay off in the future, but she's in good shape right here in first place with a 7.1. So they're the standings so far in the youth female semifinal round. Up next, we have Christine Ludwig. She's from Dixon's Taekwondo, coached by Master Irvin Dixon Jr.
I think we can just check a little things here. That out to in middle block looks like it's coming forward a little bit, almost like a back fist. So just really making sure that it comes around and that our foot is in the right position on the front kick so that we get a nice ball of the foot pointing instead of toes or like a side kick shape. And that will bring that accuracy up. You see here, there's a little bit of a spread. So Christine gets a 5.97. Lots of really great stuff. We just have to clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, that 2.4, 2.4, and 2.5 will really boost up once that's taken care of. And again, here are the standings for the youth female green belt semifinalists.
Poomsae. 준비.
Up next, we have Issa Conklin.
시작.
Issa is from QE Taekwondo, coached by Master Dean Vargas.
Issa enjoys roller skating and swimming in her spare time outside of Taekwondo.
It's nice to have that balance of indoor and outdoor activity. Taekwondo, for the most part, we tend to do inside, so it's nice. I almost said outside because right now we are outside, but in general, we're inside. And so it's nice to have that balance of outdoor activity.
Right, and swimming gives you a lot of strength, so I think that that could be a nice carryover into having nice smooth motions that have nice good power. Issa gets a 6.57, so a good score here in this division. And again, we will see all 8 athletes again in the finals. This is just to figure out which order they'll go in the finals.
So take a look at the standings there in the youth female green belt semifinals. And up next, we have the youth male blue belt semifinal round, starting off with Derek Zhang.
준비. 시작.
Derek is from Roland Heights, California, trains with Just Taekwondo under Master Justin Wong. And we have 6 athletes in this youth male blue belt semifinal round. And it looks like they're doing Teguk Samjang. That's Teguk number 3. We get those double punches for the first time.
Yerick had some nice core action. Every time he threw a punch, you could see his core right behind it. A nice, quick motion to help support that arm going out there. He gets a score of 6.67. So some athletes just simply extend their arm, especially lower belt athletes, or just kind of place their arm out there. But we could see his punch coming from the center of his body, from his core, and the arm was just a delivery system for that strong motion. This is George Hutchinson. And George is from Thunder Taekwondo Martial Arts Academy. Thunder, Miyako. Thunder Taekwondo. Awesome.
That's a great name. And this school is located in, I believe, Columbia, Maryland. I've been here a few times. One of the instructors at this school does a lot of tricking. And so that floor that you can see in the background there is for kind of gymnastics and tricking, and it's really great.
That's fun.
George did a good job there. Again, one of the few athletes wearing a mask, so having to work extra hard to get that Poomsae out nice and strong.
And he received a score of 5.9. So here are our standings so far. Derek Zhang in first place, followed by George Hutchinson. Up next, we have James Wong. He is from the Korea Taekwondo Center.
Right, and that is in Manahawkin, and he's coached by Master Moon. In his spare time outside of Taekwondo, he likes to skateboard, surf, snowboard, and he's also learning how to speak Korean. So that should come in handy with all your Taekwondo skills. You can know what all of the different motions are and what the kicks are, as well as the numbers.
Where does he find the time to do all of those things? That's quite a list for such a young athlete. I wonder if he sleeps.
Well, he just did a really great Teguk Samjang. I have to count in my head every time. Yo Isam every time.
And he gets a score of 6.5.
So that's really good. That puts him just underneath Derek Zhang in second place, with a little bit of a gap there before George right now in third.
Right, you can see all that on the standings right there in the youth male blue belt semifinal standings board. And here now is Michael Jacobson.
Michael is from Clearfield, Utah, trains at Shiba Taekwondo under Master Cherith Shiba. And Michael broke his arm earlier this year, but he's still been attending Poomsae and sparring classes, even with his cast on. And so his parents just want to say how proud they are of how hard he's worked to overcome his obstacles. And I think that training's all paid off because he's doing a really great job right now.
I would have never known he broke his arm earlier. He looks really strong. He doesn't look like he's favoring anything. And a lot of athletes, after they have an injury, they might favor that whole side of their body. But he looks like nothing's affecting him whatsoever from that past injury. So good job to Michael Jacobson with a strong score of 6.43. So here are standings. Derek Zhang in first, followed by James Wong and Michael Jacobson. Up next, we have Kai Tushida. And Kai is from the Team AM Community Poomsae program, coached by Alvin Jung and Albert Jung.
This is Kai's first major Taekwondo tournament since he started 2 years ago. But he has some great teammates to train with, showing some really great transitions there from back stance to front stance, and really nice, soft, and good power. Again, outside.
Yeah, every time he turns to his right, he's right into the sun, and he turns away from it, and he's not in the sun. And it can be disorienting for a lot of athletes to go from one side to the other like that. But he made it seem pretty darn easy.
Shut. Chit.
And finishing right on that yellow line. So good job finishing where he started as well.
And he received a score of 6.57, which should bump him into second place.
Right, and we have just one more athlete in this division. Here are those standings. Again, we'll see all 6 in the finals in a future episode.
봄살
This
준비.
is Romeo Lobodesis III. That name is longer than he is tall. We put them side by side. He is from QE Taekwondo. I think he's doing Teguk jump here.
So he's taking his time, being pretty deliberate, but we're not seeing too much power coming through. Accuracy a little bit off on some of these moves. So I think accuracy might be a little bit lower in this score, but he has a lot of great potential. Yeah, so it looks like he did the wrong form here. Unfortunately, this division is Teguk 3, and he did different form. So he zeroes out the score. This is the lowest you can get. It's a 0.5 in all 3 of the presentation categories. So hopefully we'll see Romeo again with the correct form in the finals.
Right, he wasn't the only one who made that mistake. So Romeo, if you're watching, just know that other athletes might have sent in this
준비.
maybe mistitled link as well. So hopefully we'll see you again in the finals with the correct Poomsae. This
시작.
is the youth female blue belt semifinal round. In this group, we have 4 athletes. This is Nabila Diorio.
She's doing a great job. Those front kicks were really high and precise. Nice locking into stances. Precision is really good here.
Yeah, she makes sure she's stepping out just far enough to make sure she can extend out that rear leg in the front stance. These are a little bit shorter. She started off with a little bit longer stance. It varies just a bit, but her intent is really smart, trying to really extend out each of those, and ends up with a nice, strong hand technique at the end.
차렷.
That was Nabila
기운해.
Diorio from Flying V Taekwondo, coached by Master Vincent Villena. She has a nice, strong score. The higher ones in this episode, 7.03.
Yeah, that was a really great form. I think a well-deserved score there. A little things to work on here and there, like that stance, making sure it's consistent across all of the form, but really, really great job here, and just 3 more athletes to go.
This is Maria Zankarenka, and she's from East West Taekwondo, coached by Master Stacy Yu and Parshatam Sharma. She has a very happy disposition as she's going through the Poomsae. She looks like she's having fun with it. She understands all the directions to go to, all the lines of movement. Now the next step is to just tighten it up from the ground up, making sure all of those stances are very clear. So that was Maria Zankarenka, and she receives a score of 5.47.
Right, Maria likes to cook, bake, draw, and she enjoys playing with her cat.
Back here at the Summer of Poomsae, presented by USA Taekwondo, and you're chopping it up with Jason and Sarai Schwartz. Sarai, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good today. Thank you.
You're welcome. You live in Palo Alto, California, but where did you live prior to that?
I lived in Guatemala, actually, Antigua,
That,
Guatemala.
yeah, that's crazy. That's completely different than we get. Usually, yeah, I lived in the suburb of, Dallas or something like that, but not Guatemala. Impressive for sure. So Sarai, what kind of preparation did it take to ultimately put out a virtual Poomsae? I mean, it's just a lot different competition. It's a lot of work. So what did you do to put out your Poomsae?
Well, the week before the competition, I actually went to the dojang and I actually practiced there for a couple of hours. So that helped. And then it took 2 days to actually do the filming. The first day I just did like 50 films and they were all scrapped. And then the next day I went back again and I finally got both of mine submitted.
Yeah, that's impressive. And you're right. It went the overwhelming response I get is it took days, not like an hour. You know, it took a ton of time to do it. So it doesn't surprise me that a perfectionist or someone who really wants to get it right like yourself is going to spend the extra time to do that. So that, to me, that's extremely impressive. So when you're not doing Taekwondo competitively and you're not going to classes, what other activities are you doing for fun?
Well, I do tennis. I do tournaments for tennis too, and I just practice. I can also play the piano.
Amazing. Piano player, tennis player, competitive tennis player, I should say, competitive Taekwondo. Is there anything you can't do? What can you not do?
I can't ski double black diamonds.
Okay.
On my face. So.
I cannot either. So we're in the same boat there as well. So we kind of talked a little bit. So let's kind of talk about what we have in common. Favorite tennis player?
Nadal by far.
Yes, the best. He's the best. Rafa Nadal is the best. He's the most fun to watch. He's so brilliant out there. I couldn't agree more. So that's why I love your interview, because I totally agree with you on this. But I want to say, Sarai, good luck at our up-and-coming competition. You're going to do great there at the virtual USA Taekwondo Summer of Poomsae. And I look forward to meeting you in person when we have big tournaments so that I can meet you and we can talk a little more Taekwondo and Nadal. Deal?
Deal.
All right, let's do it. You've heard it. This is Sarai Schwartz. Good luck in your competition, Sarai. And we look forward to, like I said, seeing you down the road. Have a great competition.
This is Sarai Schwartz, and she's from Taekwondo Tigers, coached by Master Haijin Jung. Like many of our athletes, she looks like she's been growing recently. So sometimes as we grow, we just need to make sure that we're stepping out a little bit more so we can get into a longer stance, whether that's a back stance or a front stance. She very, very much has the general idea of those stances and just needs to extend them a little bit now in order to get a higher score. Look, she got a 6.2, so now into second place in the division.
Right, and this is Teguk Ojang, number 5. It's a difficult form. It has side kicks, just the second form to have side kicks. So a lot of new things to learn and work through, and I think that these ladies are doing a really great job.
This is Anna Troop. Anna is from Kukiwon Taekwondo Academy, coached by Master Young Kim. Yeah, no more walking stances in this Poomsae. Everything's either a front stance or a back stance. There's a couple of smaller stances at the beginning, the Orensogi and Wensogi, but other than that, everything should be lengthy, long, deep, and that gives us a lot of opportunity to really extend those hand techniques. Ooh, nice flexibility on that side kick.
Yeah, Anna is really flexible. Those front kicks shooting way above her head. So I think that will definitely serve her well in the future. But we do need to clean up those hand techniques a little bit. They're a little flying all over the place. So getting those hands to start where they should, finish where they should, and then just kind of match the intensity of those kicks. And she'll just do great.
Is that the technical term, Miyako, flying all over the place?
Yes, that is the technical terminology.
5.77 for Anna Troop has a lot of great potential in her Poomsae for sure. So here are the standings after the semifinal round. Nabila, oh, you caught that. I'm sure you got all that. Or you took a photo of that, because now we're racing ahead to the youth male red belt semifinal round. And in this division, athletes do 2 Poomsae back to back. We're going to start with Graham Kremers. Graham is from a club that you're very well acquainted with, right, Miyako?
You know, I don't recognize it, and we don't get to cheat and see, you know, the school name on his uniform or on the wall. But I will say that Graham is doing a really good job here. He's very accurate, fought for that second side kick there. But I really appreciate the care that he's taking in some of these hand techniques. He just needs to sink a little lower in some of those stances.
Right, so he received a score of 6.13. I'm sure everybody out in Utah is really proud of Graham. So up next we have Teguk Chung, a difficult Poomsae. First time a round kick comes up in a form, and here it is right there, straight onto the camera. He does a good job. He's able to kick to his head height, which is the accurate spot for all the Poomsae.
So we know that the head height is where we're supposed to be kicking, but we see a lot of athletes kicking really, really high, almost vertically. How does that impact the score, Coach Brand?
If they're kicking vertically?
Yeah, if they kick above the head.
Oh, well, kicking above the head is a great idea. If you're super flexible and you just shove that right up as high as you can, that's great. But we want to go at least to the head, right? We want to go to the head. If we can go higher and it still has a correct form, meaning we're not piking, we're not falling over, we're not losing our balance, and it can help our presentation score for sure.
Right, so as long as you're above the shoulders, you're not going to lose any points on those kicks, but they need to be at least head high. Graham gets another 6.13 on his second form, so that will be his combined score.
That's an unusual consistent score, 6.13. Interesting. This is Ethan Cruz from Versus Sport Taekwondo. Right, so we'll see a lot of the athletes probably in this division try to shoot for the moon a little bit, and so there's some risk involved. So with these front kicks here, we definitely want to target the head. You can go higher than the head, that's even better. But we'll see some side kicks in this Poomsae coming up. Just a little bit of a wrong technique there, and then he tried to rip it out of the air. We've all done that before, like, what? And then we start thinking about it too much, and it makes us pause later. This is a side kick here. We want to target the head. We can go higher, and we'll definitely see a lot of athletes shoot for that. That would be great. What do you think about that last step there, Miyako? Is that more of a hop, or is that more of a stomp?
So it's a stomping motion, and your body should almost be going down. You shouldn't jump up and down at all. Just kind of really go diagonally down into the ground as hard as you can.
Right, like right after that kick retraction, just from that point, just stomping on the opponent's foot from there. So this is Yukchang. That's what we've been talking about with the high kick here. So here's his round kick. He targeted a little bit off center. We want to make sure we're going right toward the head for that one. But these forms are not easy. Teguk 5 and Teguk 6 for red is challenging.
Right, Yukjong, those blocks there at the face, hard round kicks you don't get many times. This front kick coming back into a back stance multiple times. And then this last bar where you can't see where you're going backwards. It's a hard stance transition and you can't see your mark to finish where you started. So you have to make sure that those stances are really accurate.
And at the same time, you have to make sure you're punching dead center. He was punching a little bit low at the end, and that might impact his score because those should have been right in line with the solar plexus. So when a little bit low like that, you're going to get a 0.1 accuracy deduction if the referees happen to catch it. So our standings so far, Graham Kremers in first, followed by Ethan Cruz.
봄새 준비. 태극
This is
오자.
Jason Nan.
시작.
And if you're just joining us and you don't know that much about Poomsae, it's scored out of a 10. We get 4 points in accuracy, 6 points in presentation. That presentation is broken out into 3 categories of 2 points each. So you get power, you get your rhythm and tempo, and the last one is your expression of energy. That one can be a little bit subjective, but it's kind of how you present yourself. It's your volume of motion and your hand techniques. And this is Ja-Chen, and he's from Quest Taekwondo, being a little careful, really deliberate, and doing a very nice, accurate form there for Teguk Ojang.
And that last one, expression of energy, also includes the Kia. So athletes sometimes spend a bit of time making sure that that is really representative of their individual Poomsae.
태극 기업자 시작.
So as he's moving through the Poomsae here, the referees are able to, as he's going through each technique, to be able to do nothing or deduct a 0.1 for a small error or 0.3 for a larger error. For example, looking in the wrong direction or stepping with the wrong step or using the wrong stance.
Right, so a major is if you did the wrong move or if you missed a move. A minor is just you did the right thing, you just did it a little bit wrong. So your hand placement was a little off, you pivoted on the wrong part of your foot, but it's, you know, a little thing, and that's only a 0.1 deduction. And so they start at 4 and go down from there. So that's how you get that accuracy score here of 2.27. Ja-Chen's second score is 5.57 for a combined score of 5.65.
Yeah, so it's almost like an execution error, right? Like you were thinking the right thing, you wanted to do the right thing, but when you executed, it was a little bit off, so you get that 0.1 deduction. But if you actually just did the wrong thing or looked in the wrong direction, then that's more of a severe penalty, and that's a 0.3. So as the referees are watching Dylan Lee here, they're going to be looking for things as he goes. If something's a bit off, it was the right intention, but still off, they're going to click a little button, and then the score will show at the end under accuracy.
And Dylan must have, you know, just grown a few inches because his uniform is just a little bit short there on his legs, but it really gives us a good view of all of his ankles and stances so we can watch those transitions. That was a pretty good stomp. That last move, again, difficult. You have to land that right foot at a 45-degree angle to the left, and your left foot just kind of comes right behind, and you should be able to stand up out of it without moving your feet at all.
So Dylan Lee for the first Poomsae gets a score of 6.57, and that's a really great score in this particular division.
Right, and that's important because we have 10 athletes here in the semis, and we can only take 8 into the finals. So making sure that even early in the division that you're up at the top will secure you a spot in that finals. His pants become shorts when he does those kicks.
He looks really strong as he's going through the Poomsae. He knows exactly what he's trying to highlight. So
Right, no, pretty good job of having those punches be centered there at the last couple moves as well.
Right, that's Dylan Lee, and he received a score for the first Poomsae of 6.57, and his second, even higher, was 6.7. And all of the judges there really like very, very similar in their scores. He receives a total of 6.63. So now easily and with a gap in the first place, followed by Graham Kremers, Jaichen Nan, and Ethan Cruz. Up next, we have Keanu Benoit. Keanu's from Progressive Taekwondo Academy.
Right, that's out of Cary, North Carolina, coached by Master Salim Odin.
He's a pretty strong looking young athlete. So for his hand techniques to get the full degree of score that he wants, he's going to need to extend those out with a lot more extension. Right now, he's using his elbows to kind of push from side to side. And as he gets more familiar with the Poomsae, he's probably really going to push out like that one there, that elbow out. He has a very strong looking physique, so it's just a matter of spending some more time on the technique. So I did it. And Keanu receives a score of 2.6.
Unfortunately, we got deductions of 1.2 to come out because I think he went out of screen. So really making sure that you stay within the frame, and then make sure that those accuracy things are really under control. We see he tends to take a step before he kicks in the first form, and that's a major. So that's a 0.3 deduction if you take a big step before you do the kick, and those add up really quickly, unfortunately.
Yeah, he just did that again in this one. I know a lot of young athletes do this. He just did it again. So like you want to get your momentum. So you step with that front foot. That time he did not. So good job on that one. But as he watches the video, he might be able to see it. And when you're doing it yourself, you might think like, I didn't even realize that was happening. That's a huge factor in the score.
Yeah, and he just stepped forward at the end as well. That'll be another major, and then missing your mark is another major. So just some accuracy things to really work through on this form, but he has a lot of potential. Just got to go back, watch some video, talk with your coach, and I'm sure that Keanu will see you in the future, and I look forward to it.
Yeah, it doesn't have to do with potential or strength or athleticism. For him right now, it's just going through the Poomsae step by step. And here are standings in the youth male semifinal red belt division. Up next, we have Choi Win.
Troy's from San Jose, California, trains with Team M's Community Poomsae program, coached by Alvin and Albert Jong. We've seen his teammates also competing out here on this field into the sunlight right now, but he has some really great stop between these moves. Not easy on grass. An aggressive side kick retraction. We don't always get that in these young color belt athletes. So that shows some really good understanding of the technique.
Right, both the chamber and the retraction really trying to come in toward the core of the body. That looked really great. He gets a score of 6.77. He looked really well practiced for this event. So all that preparation really pays off.
Chuck.
Nice high round kick. Let those toes back for the front kick foot position. More so on the right side than the left. So a little bit of extra work to do to make them both evened up. A nice and high kick there. Stepped off a little bit to the outside.
Right, he's really pushing the hips forward on the front kicks as well, which can make it harder to come back into that back stance, but he did a good job of controlling his whole body weight and then being able to step backwards into the back stance.
Shot. Chit. Kinyan.
A great job for Choi Win. And he receives another score identical to the first, 6.77, and into first place in this youth male red belt semifinal round. So we'll see the finals on an upcoming episode of Summer of Poomsae. Here are the standings. Again, Choi in first, followed by Dylan Lee, Graham Kremers, and Jaichin Na. This is Ian Kim from Arizona Pride, coached by Masters Ruben Lally and Megan Yi. Opening up with a lot of power here on the first two lines. It's nice when the athletes know the difference of those hand techniques, where the target is for the back fist and for the middle block.
Right, Ian says that he feels like his Poomsae's gotten better over time, and his coaches tell him that he's definitely improved his stances. And I think that we can definitely see all that work coming through here, Ian. So really good job. Keep training. I think you have a bright future ahead of you.
Yeah, really good work on that, Poomsae. Next step for him is probably going to be to control the retraction of that side kick in order to land with a little bit more balance and clarity. So that was a really good start. He's at 6.5 so far.
Also need to just work on the foot position on the front kick a little bit. You want to make sure you're kicking with the ball of the foot and not letting the whole foot flop up like you would on a side kick position. Should make impact with the ball of your foot.
Right, he has a first step of that, like he's tilting his foot, right, using that ankle joint to tilt the foot, but needs to really make sure he's got the correct foot position. And his round kick that he's throwing, a good idea, trying to really push up with the flexibility, just a little bit more alignment will really get him probably a little higher score.
Right, especially on video, again, those last two punches really need to be centered, solar plexus. One nice thing about these color belt uniforms, there's a little patch right at your solar plexus at the end of the V. That's where you should be aiming. So it's just a nice little visual. He gets a 6.2 on the second form for a combined score of 6.35.
And so here are our standings at this point. Troy Nguyen, followed by Dylan Lee, Ian Kim, and Graham Kremers in fourth.
Well, my name is Marcus. I'm 11 years old. I've been doing Taekwondo for 3.5 years, and I live in Aurora, Colorado.
You said that you wanted to become a pilot. So what got your interest in planes and wanting to be a pilot?
Well, I like being up in the air, and I also like seeing all the views from up high.
So what do you like about being up in the air as compared to being down on the ground?
I don't know, I can like see more, and it's a really cool experience.
When did you get to fly your first plane? How old were you?
8.
How many planes have you flown since then?
I've flown 4 airplanes.
4 airplanes? So what type of planes have you flown?
They were Cessnas.
So were you in control by yourself, or did you have someone there helping you?
I had someone there helping me.
What career path do you want to take?
The passenger airplane pilot.
Any particular passengers, like United, American?
No, I'll fly anywhere, I guess.
준비.
Up next, we have Marcus Jacobson Garcia, and he is from U.S. Taekwondo Center in Colorado, coached by Master Sean Jung. He's taken a little bit more careful approach, really cautious about how he's setting out the hand technique.
Want to be careful not to take those extra steps. I'm not sure if the judges will take majors for them. It seems to be more of a pre-step than a full step, but you do want to minimize any extra motion between moves, and that will help your accuracy go up on those stance transitions. So Marcus here getting a 5.77 on his first form.
시작.
So I think with a little bit more speed, we'll get a little bit more power off the ground. But even though he's been kind of safe, he's able to kick up to his head height. The foot position needs a little tweaking, just like many of the athletes in this division. So it's maybe well worth their time and effort to sit down with their coach and go over it a little bit, put some extra practice time into that.
Right, we also saw Marcus take a couple of steps before the kick. So not on all of them, just on some of those harder ones. Really just want to be careful. Go back, watch with your coach. I think we can always learn more. But Marcus Jacobson Garcia there doing a good job on his second form, gets a 5.83. So his combined score will come to a 5.80.
Right, so he got a little bit of a higher score on that second Poomsae. That's got to feel good. So now here are the standings again. Troy Nguyen in first, followed by Dylan Lee, Ian Kim, and Graham Kremers. And as Miyako mentioned earlier, we have 10 athletes in this division, and we're going to be taking the top 8 to the finals in a future episode of Summer of Poomsae. This is Naresh Hiram.
And Naresh is from Marlborough, which is in Massachusetts, and he trains at Kwan's Martial Arts under Master Viet Nguyen. And Master Viet's a teammate of mine. He has his own school outside of Boston, Massachusetts. It's great to get to see the space and some of his athletes here. I know they've put in a lot of hard work.
바로
And for his first form, Naresh Hiram received a score of 6.07. A pretty good score in this division.
시작.
So Naresh has some extra hand movements in between moves. You just want to make sure that your hands take the most direct possible path between hand motions so that you don't get big motions outside of the path of where they should be. So you don't want to dip your hands below the belt, leave your hands on the chest during the kicks so that we don't get that extra visual motion. So right there, hands just staying on the body in that front kick.
And we don't want to detract from the thing that we're trying to highlight. So when we're kicking, we just want that on the front stage and let everything else kind of sink behind it. So we don't want to have any extra hand moving or, pulling or dropping to the side or any of that. So he receives a score a little bit lower than his first one, score of 6.0. So a combined score of 6.03. And we have just one athlete left in the division. So here are the standings. Troy Nguyen in first, followed by Dylan Lee, Ian Kim, and Graham Kremers.
And we will take the top 8 athletes into finals.
Up next, we have Aiden Hayes from Champion Taekwondo in Fairfield, Connecticut, coached by Master Kwan Jin Ha.
So Aiden here trying to be really deliberate about that back fist versus the out to in middle block. But the middle block was a little low. It should be at shoulder height. He was dropping it down to solar plexus. So understanding the move just a little bit off. So that would be a minor versus if you were in the wrong body part, that would be a major.
Saw him try real hard on those side kicks, get that extension up. So he has really good flexibility. I also really like how he filmed the Poomsae with a really clear view for the referees. He starts off with a 6.07. So you see where he is in his space. We have a really great clear look of him, especially as he's coming toward the camera. It's lit well. There's no distraction in the space. So we can really focus on his techniques. Those two right there, those middle blocks, a little bit too low. So might get an accuracy ding on those. And then as we've been mentioning all along, the front kick foot position to take a little bit of some extra care.
Right, but these are just youths, Coach Brand. So they are 10 to 11 years old. They're still pretty young, and I think that they're all doing a really great job showing off what they've been practicing on, all their training. And next year, in the next year or two, when they age up into the cadet division, and if they age up into a black belt, then that's when you can start trying out for the national team. So right now, I hope that this is all just fun and a competition that you enjoy doing and learning from. Aiden gets a 5.63 on that second form, so a little bit lower there, and the score comes out to 5.85.
You're right, Miyako. It's not about being perfect right now. It's having fun, developing as an athlete. Here are the standings for this semifinal round. And we're on to the youth female red belt semifinals, starting with Kate Umimoto.
And this is a very large division, Coach Brand. This is a red belt youth females. We have 16. So we're only going to be able to take
Wow.
half of them into the finals.
Well, this will be fun then, and more exciting as we go through the division to find out who the top 8 are going to be and who's it going to be that's going to be on a final episode of Summer of Poomsae. So that's Kate Umamoto starting off our division with a score of 5.93.
And because these are red belts, they will be doing 2 forms in the semis, just like the boys did. And second form here, Yukjung. Look at those front kicks.
Really good reach on all of the kicks. A little bit more clarity here on the front stances would be really great next step for Kate.
Kate has her name on her pants, which I've never seen, and Hawaii on the other leg. I want this uniform. I want my name on my pants and Hawaii on the other side. I feel like I need to go to Dixon's Taekwondo so I can get a cool uniform like Kate.
Good job to Kate Umamoto on Teguk Yukjung. She received a 5.93 for her first Poomsae and a 5.4 for the second. So she'll wrap up this semifinal round with a final score of 5.67. Up next, we have Hae Young from Taekwon Tigers.
So Teguk 4 and Teguk 6, these 2 forms for red belts. 4 is a difficult form. It has these 2 side kicks coming straight at the camera so we can really see the alignment. And then again, these hard front kicks into a back stance where you have to go backwards. And trying to get those hands and feet to land at the same time is really hard here.
Looks like she picked a pace that she was very comfortable with, and she received a score of 6.0. So good start for Hae Young.
So we're noticing that she's finishing her hand techniques after she's landed in the stances, but her stances are a pretty good length. So I think that she has some good elements here. We just gotta try and finish them all at the same time. Hands and feet finish together.
That's a fun thing about Poomsae. There's always something to work on. What's on your list, Miyako?
I'm doing rehab right now on my hips, but one of the things that I've really been trying to work on is stay grounded and just let my feet slide across the floor with no extra pre-steps in my transitions.
Good job to Hae Young. On her second Poomsae, she received a score for the first of 6.0 and a little bit higher for the second, 6.07. So that's fun. All the referees came in at about the same scores. So she gets a final score of 6.03 for the round. Up next, we have Michaela Ivanov from Versus Taekwondo, coached by Master Seth Wilson. Oh, and she's off and going. Nice quick pace for Michaela. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna knock it out, and then I'm gonna go have some lemonade. So like, I got this, look, you go over there and you do that, and then you go over there and you do that, and I am done. Awesome attitude. Michaela Ivanov with a score of 4.73.
So Judge 2, they're taking off some points on accuracy more than the referee and Judge 1.
Right.
But I think maybe if she slows down just the tiniest bit, we'll be able to really lock in the accuracy a little bit better, and that score will jump up. But I love her attitude here. She's just very aggressive about it and showing off what she has.
Oh, checking off screen just a little bit, making sure everybody's watching. Look, I'm going to finish this up, and it's going to be amazing. She gets our quick in for sure. She wants to do it, and she wants to do it right now. She gets a score of 4.4 following the 4.73. You can't go faster than the judges can actually see them, Michaela, so we got to slow it down for their benefit so they can see how every technique is finishing. So we have in our standings now, Heian Young, followed by Kate Umamoto and Michaela Ivanov.
봄새 준비.
Up next, we have Leia Cordero.
태국 사자. 시작.
It's pretty good alignment on the side kick. It wasn't quite above the shoulder. Again, we're aiming for that head height, but the alignment. So her head, her hips, her leg, all in one line. So really nice job. Continue to work through, showing some good power here on these motions.
Yeah, most people would say the side kick is the hardest part of the Poomsae. So she has a really good start on that. She has good alignment, just needs to make sure her eyeballs are looking in the same direction that her head is going in. So she has a 6.2 for that first Poomsae. Sometimes as we do a side kick, we tend to look way up or over to the side, and I think that'll be an easy fix for her.
And that is a high score so far for this division. But again, 16 people in this division, and we can only take 8 into the final. So getting a good high score here on the second form will really help try and secure her a spot in the finals. So kicked a little bit off to the side there. Just kind of looked like she let her body keep turning after the kick, but front kicks here looking good. Just a tiny bit bouncy, so her head is coming up and down between moves.
I didn't see that kick off to the side. Did you see that kick off to the side? Sometimes it goes and, we don't realize it's still going. We got to bring that back. Got to bring it back. 6.0 for that second Poomsae, following up her first score of 6.2. So she ends up, of course, with a 6.1 to finish up the round. And up next we have Madison Poomsae.
시작.
So a nice pre-chamber there before the side kicks, again about belt level, so not quite as high as we're aiming for, but the front kicks nice and high at head level. So lots of good things here so far from Madison.
Yeah, she has a low center of gravity, and she seems to want to try to be consistent with it, coming through rather than that up and down type of motion that some athletes have. She likes to kind of cruise in at that lower height. So she has a 6.07 for her first Poomsae.
시작.
See what I mean there? She kind of likes to keep it kind of low.
And that's really good for transitions from stance to stance. You want your height to stay really level, but when you kick, you do want that base leg to be fully locked. And here, standing all the way up, then drop down into the stance. So we could have a little bit more differentiation, but I do think that she has some good strength in those legs to hold some of these stances.
Yeah, definitely. The strength in her legs is really clear. All she needs to do is touch base with her coach, strategize for a little bit more stance work, a little bit more extension. So that's Madison Poomsae with a score of 6.4, so higher for that second one.
Nice job.
6.07. So she gets a 6.23 for the two. And again, we have 16 athletes in this division. Here are the standings so far. We have Madison Poomsae, just boosted herself in the first, followed by Leia Cordero. This is Isabel Burdick.
시작.
Good job on those 2 side kicks, a full chamber, and then trying to really stay aligned.
And a little bit of a dip on the base leg there in the front kick. You can see her leg just bending. The locked leg on the ground should be straight. So just keep working on that. I know sometimes we are trying to push the height and you don't realize that your bottom half is collapsing a little bit. But I think that was a good start, a 6.57 here. So a big score.
Wow.
That's our highest score so far.
Yeah, it's a great score for Isabel Burdick. Let's see if she can increase the lead even more.
Plus she has those great French braids. So I'm sure that's giving her bonus points.
Well, we know that doesn't happen, but it is a really nice touch and it adds to her overall look. As we mentioned, presentation is super important. Your total look as you hit the mat. And it's awesome. She's trying to use a lot of power and she's able to keep her glasses on. Good job to Isabella Burdick. And here's the score for the second Poomsae. Coming in, the judges all pretty close to each other. She ends up with a final Poomsae score, 6.60. And here are the standings now for the youth female red belt semifinal round. A switch up now in the leads. This is Faith Lee from Taekwondo Tigers.
So those are coming along really nicely. The good high front kicks and side kicks and a nice alignment coming forward.
Yeah, she has really good extension off of her kicks. And trying for big volume on these last 4 techniques, 4 hand combinations going to the rear. So she ends up with a score of 6.73, and boy, these scores are starting to climb, Miyako.
Yeah, they really are. They're getting nice and high. I think the accuracy scores getting up into 3 really helps with that overall score. Just a fun fact for Faith, she enjoys making slime and creating animals with pipe cleaners. So those sounds like fun activities. Crafting is always a good use of time in my book.
Animals with pipe cleaners.
I wonder if she's made some tigers for her teammates.
Oh, good idea. Who wouldn't like that? Yeah, that's what you were talking about a little bit before with the support leg, sometimes collapsing a little bit. So she's able to straighten that bottom leg, that support leg. To look much taller, get a lot more height off of the kick. I think sometimes when athletes start to chamber in their knee bends on the kicking leg, then the other leg sympathetically bends with it. So you have to almost on purpose tell it to do the opposite thing. One has to straighten as one bends. So there's Faith Lee's score 6.5. And her total score is 6.62. And here are our standings now with Faith Lee in first, followed by Isabella Burdick and Madison Poomsae. Up next, we have Adeline Jar.
Adeline is from Wichita, Kansas. Trains at Kim's Academy of Taekwondo under Master Jessica Pierce. And I remember this dojang, all those trophies up there in the back. And she has the power buns hairstyle here, which I approve of.
I like to call them fierce spheres.
Well, she has some fierce spears hairs to go with her fierce Poomsae, because Adeline just got a 6.63 on that first form.
That's a huge score.
She had a really nice high round kick, didn't quite get the rotation on the base leg. So on the round kick, your base leg should turn all the way. Her toes should turn around and face the clock behind her as this round kick comes up.
Yeah, so this support leg, that one got about maybe 3/4 of the way around. So just a little bit more hip rotation, a little more work on the front kick foot position. Those are the next steps for Adlin Jar.
Chip.
Good job unlocking out the back leg, clicking it into the front stance though, and really working hard to stack the weight on the back stances. So another high score here from judges, 6.67. I believe that's one of our records, and she's probably jumping into first place here, I think.
I think she is. So here come our standings. I think I misstated her name before. I think it's Adlin Jar in first, followed by Faith Lee and Isabella Burdick. Things are changing almost moment by moment here in this youth female red belt semifinal round. This is Nicole Strast from Tiger Martial Arts.
And we're halfway through this division. Again, 16 athletes, and we're only taking 8. We just had 3 massive scores, but here comes Nicole with those side kicks to the moon. Look at her.
Watch this. Boom. Now those are the highest kicks we've seen so far in the division. Well up over her head with the correct foot position. So it's going to be exciting to see how the score comes in here.
Hello.
So that was Nicole Strast, and she gets a huge, whopping 7.07 for her first Poomsae.
Wow. Yeah, look at that accuracy. So a nice high 3.3 there from 2 of the judges. So really appreciating all of her technique here.
And these are great forms to show off that front kick. So she's going to have another opportunity right here, and then 3 more coming up of front kicks. So good for her getting a Poomsae that really highlights her strengths. So let's see how high this round kick goes here, and if it's in the correct form, looks great. Good alignment on that. Now 2 final front kicks here. I'm predicting another very high score for Nicole.
Hello.
She went to the 2019 National Championships for the first time and got 3rd place in the green belt Poomsae division. So now here as a red belt, trying to see if she can make it into those medals, but with a 7.03 on her second form, she's definitely skyrocketing up to the top of this division.
Yeah, she finishes with a score of 7.05, and she'll be up in first place with quite a gap here above Adlin Jar, Faith Lee, Isabella Burdick. And up next we have Devonna Shin.
Devonna is from Klamath Falls, Oregon, but trains at World Taekwondo Center in San Antonio. And look at these side kicks. She said, Nicole, hold on, I'm coming.
Holy cow, look at those front kicks. Oh, this is going to be something. I can't wait for this score to come up. Boom, 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 boom. Now I'm going to finish. I'm just going to lay into these last couple techniques. Good job for Devonna Shin.
Her favorite hobby is ballet, and I can definitely see those long legs and flexibility coming into play. A 7.17, our new high score.
Great score for Devonna Shin. Let's see what happens here. Another great opportunity to show off that flexibility in Teguk. So we have 6 front kicks in this Poomsae and 2 round kicks. We don't have 6 front kicks?
Beautiful.
Oh.
No, sorry. Yes. I was just shaking my head in amazement that, yes, there are 6 front kicks, 2 round kicks.
I think all of them are going to look great. Boom.
And perfect step down in line. A lot of athletes will kick and step out to the side as they turn, but she finished that kick, came right back up and stepped in perfect line. This is a really great form.
It sure is. What are you predicting for a score, Miyako?
I am guessing a 7.3.
I'm gonna say
Going real high.
7.2. I'm gonna go with 7.2. Let's see what happens. Oh, in between the two, 7.23. Oh, you're so close. So she ends up with a final score of 7.2, which now moves her into the lead with a little bit of a gap ahead of Nicole Strauss and Adeline Jar. So again, we're looking for the top 8 in the division to move on to the final round in a future episode of Summer of Poomsae. This is Brielle Williams, and she says, wait a minute, guys, I'm here too, you know. Watch this. There's a few accuracy things to think about here where the techniques are landing.
Right, some of those metal blocks need to just be a little higher up to the shoulder height, and she's finishing them just more about hip or stomach. So playing them up a little bit. Again, correct body area, as long as it's above the belt, that'll just be a minor deduction.
I wonder if she was doing this Poomsae around the time that her teammate was. She received a score of 5.37, but wasn't it Michaela Ivanov that had a really fast pace earlier in the division?
I think it was, yeah, and they're both from the same school there, so maybe they trained together really quickly.
Right, maybe they recorded like near the same time, because she's using a pretty quick speed too. And sometimes what the person next to you does rubs off on us.
Right, especially if you're friends and you train together. So it can be hard sometimes to try and have your own style as you go through these Poomsae, but making sure that you don't pick up on habits that other people are doing and just make sure that you perform your best Poomsae as you can.
That last line was actually the best of the 2 Poomsae that she did, because she let everything finish and then threw some power on the next one. That was really good. 4.97 for Brielle Williams, following her first Poomsae score of 5.37. So she finishes up in this round with a 5.17.
So we are getting a bit of spread here in the points. Here are the standings. Again, we're only taking the top 8. So right now that's a 6.03.
Right, we have everything from like a 4.5 to a 7.2. That's a big spread. This is Jordan Tomas, I believe from Yao Taekwondo, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, yes. Coached by Ricky Howe. Nice high kicks and pretty good torso control. Keeping that body up. We just had a slight check as soon as I said that. But good job really trying to keep that torso nice and tall, nice and straight and in control.
Look at that. Nice high score is 7.00 for Jordan Tomas on the first Poomsae.
Jordan loves baking of all sorts, sweets and breads, and she especially makes a bread native to Filipino cuisine called pandesal. And she says she likes trying out new recipes that she finds on TikTok. And I can confess that I also find things on TikTok that I then try. Those short videos, and they make it look so good. I just have to start making TikTok breakfast sandwiches all the time.
Have you been successful on any of those?
No, not at all. They come out terribly, but it's lots of fun.
Well, her kicking techniques is really successful here on this Poomsae.
Right. I hope that her baking is as successful as her Poomsae, that she's doing a really great job. Those front kicks shooting way up and good control on her hand.
So she received a 7.0 for the first Poomsae, 6.9 for this one. And the referee's pretty much in agreement on this. So she ends up with a score of 6.95 for her total score. So I'm guessing we'll put her in about third or so. Yep. So we have Devonna Shin in first, followed by Nicole Strauss, Jordan Tomas, and Adeline Jar. And here's Simone Tiepert from Champion Taekwondo in Fairfield, Connecticut, coached by Master Kwon Jin Ha, current member of our 2020 National Poomsae team.
Looks like she's really trying to push up the height of those kicks, but losing some of her frame. So her chest hunching over just a little bit, bottom leg collapsing as she's trying to really reach for that height. So just kind of relaxing the body a little bit, letting it fall into place and be nice and strong and steady will help that score come up.
Yeah, she sees a 6.03. Yeah, I agree. We need to make sure that our posture stays intact, right? We want to throw a lot of power, but we don't want to lose our form as we do that. So a little practice in front of a mirror will help. Maybe a little bit more recording. I'm sure she probably doesn't want to record anymore after this for a bit, but maybe she's had some rest between the time she's done it and when this episode airs, so she can really take a look at the little tiny nuances of her movement and find where she wants to focus her attention. I think one good spot might be this front kick foot position. Looks like it might be pointed, more like a ballerina style foot position. So we need to make sure we flex those toes back. So that was Simone Tipper. She received a score of 6.03 for the first Poomsae and comes in with a 5.97 for the second. Judge 2 hitting her a little bit with accuracy, and she receives a final score of 6.0. So here are the standings so far in this female red belt semifinal round. Again, taking the top 8 to the finals. This is Annabelle Hernandez.
C. Shut.
She's got really good shape to her technique.
Right, Annabelle's from California, and she went to the 2018 National Championships where she competed in sparring, and at California State Championships where she's been a gold medalist in Poomsae in 2018 and 2019. So already at just 10 years old, she has some medals there on the wall next to her. I think I've seen some siblings of hers competing in the Summer of Poomsae, but getting a pretty good score here of 6.6, that should definitely be high enough to get her into the semis, if she can hold it in this second form.
C. Shut.
Good. She has good rhythm. I see where she's going with it. She does have a little bit of that up and down motion that we've talked about kind of throughout these divisions with the youths today. So just maybe maintaining a steady height. For example, from there to there, a little bit of a dip, and from there to there. So making sure that she picks the correct height and then just sticks with it, because she's got a lot of good strength like here. And all of her Poomsae always end really nicely. Like the last 4 steps, she drives through and has a lot of power.
Yeah.
That was Annabelle Hernandez, received a 6.6 for her first Poomsae, and for this one a 6.47. So total score is 6.53. So look at those top 8. Want to get higher than that number 8, 6.23. That's what the last 2 competitors are thinking about right now. Up next, we have Elena. Oh, I'm going to need some help with this one, Miyako.
Ooh, let's go with, yeah.
Sickus. If not, I'm sorry.
Elena's from YH Park Taekwondo Academy. Really trying to use her length to her advantage, those punches coming out nice and long. And the front stance is a pretty good length as well, just a little bit cleaner in some of the transitions will help that accuracy go up, but a very solid score of 6.37.
Well, I like her start on this, really trying to reach long with the stances, and then that gives her plenty of time to use more volume on the hand techniques. Wow, this one looks quite a bit different than the first Poomsae. Really trying to reach.
I think it helps to have those long front stances and punches on both sides where we can see how much she's really trying. Here's another front stance. Pretty good reach.
See, she's trying to drop into that low back stance so she doesn't shorten it up at all. That's really good. She's lucky she has a relatively short torso and then very long legs. Kind of the desired Taekwondo physique. Or at least that's what I've always thought it to be, like short torso, long legs. That would be so fun to have. 6.37 for her first Poomsae, followed by 6.6 for her second. So she ends up with a score of 6.48. And so she is in that number 8 spot right now.
So here we go. One athlete left. Can Elena hold on to that spot and make it to the finals?
We'll see. This is Hannah Luvino. Gonna go for that spot there, either number 8 or higher, to try to get into the finals. Really, really high front kick and really well extended side kicks. Look at that.
She has some long arms and long legs, so we're really seeing her be able to extend these arms, have a nice volume of motion, and she is gunning for it here. I think this is a really good form.
Yeah, that kick almost went out of frame. It went so high. The front kick going to the rear. Good job for Hannah Luvino. Let's see if she shakes things up here in the standings. Yes, well, with her first Poomsae, nice high score, 6.97.
That's really great score. Nice high accuracy as well as presentation.
She's up.
So those middle blocks coming a little bit low, but those kicks are just gorgeous.
Yeah, those kicks, I mean, come on. What is going on here? This is really nice high kicking from Hannah Luvino. And that may push her over the edge, you know. The referees are going to see some of these accuracy things with the hand techniques. For example, that right there, a little low, and that one very low. So compared to the kicking techniques, we have some hand technique work to do. So after a first score of 6.97, Hannah receives a score of 6.67 on the next one. That sound about right, Miyako? And a final score of 6.82.
6.82. That puts her into 4th place there. Here are your top 8 who will move on to finals.
And that final round will be in a future episode of Summer of Poomsae. All of our divisions today are the semifinal rounds. We're going to move on with the youth male black belt semifinal.
준비.
This is Kaylis Kalinlim.
시작.
I could say that name all day long.
So their first form is going to be Paljong. Kaylis here taking a very nice, deliberate tempo. I remember him now from the prelims after seeing that first bar, where he really takes his time. Deep, deep front stance here. I'm surprised he could move out of it. I think I would feel like moving out of mud if I was that deep. He's very deliberate. I think he could speed up transitions just a tad, but he's like definitely taking his time and showing the judges what he has here.
Right, Kaylis. Wow, look at that kick. I'm going to wait here before I say anything else because boom, there goes another one. Kaylis is from Flying V Martial Arts, coached by Master Vincent Vienna. Well, if he could just stay low on those transitions, it'd be great. He has a little bit of up and down motion from side to side, but he definitely has the strength to stay down. I just don't know if he's focusing on it right now.
Right, I think if he could just stay low in those transitions, it would be beautiful, but a 6.53. So again, first athlete in the division. We don't know where the scores will go, but starting with a good, solid 6.5.
시작.
Wow, that one went behind his head, it almost looked like. Yeah, that one went straight up. Wow.
So Teguk 8, Teguk 3 here now.
Yeah,
dropping down.
They'll probably really enjoy this because it's a much lower Poomsae than the first. They feel very comfortable with it. His kicks are nice and high. He's a little bit holding on to this last movement in each direction, maybe a little bit quicker transition will give him more connection.
Right, I think the judges might have taken off some points for the rhythm and flow. His kicks are absolutely amazing, but we need just a little more connection between the moves. So his tempo just needs to be a little quicker.
Right, that will create a little bit more flow, a little bit smoother general appearance to that. It gets a score of 6.7 on that second Poomsae. That's Calyx Kalimlim, and with a total score of 6.62.
And we have 15 athletes in this semifinal round. So again, taking the top 8 into the finals.
And this is Liam Anderson. Starting off with a lot of power, driving right into the camera.
And remembering these athletes now from the preliminary round, recognizing some of their styles. And I just think that Liam does a really good job at being accurate and taking up as much space as he can. Again, he's not the biggest guy yet. He's only 10 to 11 years old, but making a big volume of motion on his hands. Good kicks at head level. Oh, fell just a little bit there to the right. We'll see if he can still get to his mark. Big step.
Look at that. Yeah, it was really great till that last step there went to the rears. Gets a score of 6.43. But he did a good job of saving it.
Yep, and exactly the same accuracy across all 3 judges. 2.9.
Well, the difficulty level on this Poomsae quite a bit lower, so hopefully he can boost himself into the 3 range for the accuracy. Nice long front stances. Good job on those, Liam.
Doing a good job of keeping his heels on the ground from those deep front stances. Sometimes we see the ankle and the heel come up as you try and pull your body out of it, but doing a good job there to really just have clean feet. So good job to Liam Anderson from YH Park Taekwondo.
So he received a score of 6.43, and then look at this one, 7.0, which seems right? Because
yeah,
that those
much better.
Was way up on the lower form, and it has a 6.72, so has now boosted himself into the lead. With so many athletes to go, it's anybody's game right now. So we have up next David Gill.
David Gill's from Gainesville, Virginia, and trains at U.S. Tigers Taekwondo under Master Dennis Kim and Master Charlie Kim. These are 8 counts and doing a good job of making sure that hand crosses the shoulder and breaks the chin for height. And doesn't seem to have any problems with those front kicks out of the tiger stance.
Yeah, it's very challenging for a lot of athletes to be able to boost up and control their support leg, keeping the heel on the floor and still being able to kick high. Good job to David Gill on his first Poomsae Teguk pole jump.
Took just an extra step there at the end. Maybe the judges didn't take it off. Yeah, 6.93. That's a good score. Again, 15 athletes. We're taking the top 8. So it is going to be a little hard to make it in. We're only taking about 50%. But here he's opening up with some nice high front kicks. We didn't quite get the ball of the foot there, but good double punches and turning through on the shoulders.
Yeah, real good power. If he can keep this up, he'll move into first place. So we have 15 athletes. So I believe we'll be taking the strongest 8 into the semifinal round, right? Just over 50% of this.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was interesting. His kicks were just a little bit off to the sides, both left and right. So that should be an easy fix for him in the future. But that was an overall very, very strong form for David Gill. So he gets a, look at that, much higher score, just like our other athletes, 7.13 for his second Poomsae, so combined score is 7.03, and into first place for David Gill. He's followed by Liam Anderson and Kalex Kalimlim. This is Ethan So from U.S. Taekwondo Center in Colorado, coached by Master Sean Jump.
Looks like his uniform is just a little big for him. I'm sure he'll grow into it, but because of that, we can't really see how much his knees are bending or not bending. So it just makes it a little bit hard to get the full picture of what he's doing under those baggy pants.
It might be a little bit harder for him to move too. And when you have a really good fitting uniform, it just feels like it's nothing on your body, right? It just feels like it's just part of you. But when it's a little bit too big or a little bit too small, then it might feel a little bit heavy or awkward. But I know many parents try to buy it a little big because you know these kids grow very, very fast. So probably by next week, it will fit him just fine. So Ethan So with a score of 5.9 for Teguk Paul Jump.
Stop.
Nice neck chops. I think sometimes he gets these flashes of really nice motion where it's soft and then whips into place, but then some of the other motions are just a little bit blocky. So trying to get that nice smooth click into place and then power on the punches without any extra head motion forward.
I agree. Towards the beginning of this form, he really was just zipping through the technique with real clear power and real clear stance work. And then a little bit off and then back again. So he had some really good moments there. He gets a score of 6.6. So again, much higher than his first Poomsae, where he scored a 5.9. So Ethan So in the semifinal round finishes up with a score of, wait for it, 6 point, not quite sure. This is SILAS MINH. So this is an 8 count here. So he wants to make sure he counts all the way to 8 before he finishes this slow motion here. Might be just a little short. So something fun to work on in the future. Now he's gonna boost way up. Yeah, he has no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, front kick's definitely a strain for him. And I know that counting to 8 is difficult. I count too fast, I count too slow, it is not consistent. So I think having a coach or parent count it out for you while you're doing it until you get comfortable with that 8 seconds or 5 seconds, depending on the move, because he has some great kicks and will boost his score. He gets a 6.8 on that first form. So a really nice opening score here. And now onto the easier Teguk 3.
Yeah, very sharp here. Looking nice and clean. And boom. Look at that timing.
Nice and quick, nice and tall. I think this score is definitely going to be higher, significantly higher.
Now, SILAS received a score of 6.8 for the first Poomsae. Look at that. A boost for the second, 7.4. It was a really strong Poomsae for sure. He ends up with the score of 7.1. And into first place, I believe, for SILAS MINH. Up next, we have Peyton Young.
Remember this house from prelims. It's such a pretty backdrop there with the rocks, and parents, thanks for, covering everything up, making sure that there's a nice clean space here for Peyton to compete in.
Nice long stance here. So you can count it out, just 8 seconds here. And that side pretty good.
But on the 8 count, as long as you're 7 or 9 seconds, so you get a 1 second leeway on both sides, short or long, then you don't get any deductions. If you get down into 6 seconds, then it's a minor, so it's only 0.1 off for every second you're off.
Trying to go nice and long and strong with the volume of the technique, the extension. Good job to Peyton Young on his first Poomsae. 6.57 is his score.
Feeling nice and comfortable with this form. Nice transition there from back stance to front stance. Really able to lock out that back leg and the punch at the same time to get that beautiful long visual.
Good job to Peyton Young, doing a lot of things right in this Poomsae. Really trying to extend out as far as he can, trying for as much volume as possible. And finishing with his score of 6.8. So again, a higher score for the second Poomsae than his original one of 6.57. So he ends up with a 6.68. So here are the standings so far. We have SILAS Min in first place, followed by David Gill, Liam Anderson, and Peyton Young.
And that is the first 6 athletes out of 15 to go, and we will take the top 8 scores to finals.
This is Matthew San Antone. And every 6 athletes will be able to see the standings come across the screen.
Right, Matthew is from Chesapeake in Virginia and trains at Kim Masters United Taekwondo Center under Master Hyun Kim. Couple little accuracy things here and there. Tiger stance a little long, a couple torso balance checks here and there. But overall, I think he has a really good understanding of the form, good fundamentals, especially in the stance transitions there, back stance to front stance. So I'm interested to see how the judges take it here. A 6.57. So accuracy a little low. Again, you want to aim for around a 3.3 is a really good accuracy score to try and get into those 7s, right? We saw 2 athletes so far in this division crack that 7, and to do that, you have to get up above a 3 in accuracy.
So he looks a little bit more confident and comfortable with his Poomsae. This is Matthew San Antone performing Teguk Samja. So Matthew's first score came in at 6.57. And his second Poomsae comes in at, again, higher, 6.83.
There's that 3.2 on accuracy, so that is helping pull that score up.
So he received a total score of 6.7. Up next, we have WHYE from Apex Tigers Martial Arts.
Shut.
Pretty good job of keeping those punches centered. Again, it's hard and weird on camera, but you do want all of those punches to hit the center solar plexus of the body.
He's got a nice push off the floor. Look at that.
Yeah, and he's pushing here, both power and these kicks. We're seeing the elbows and shoulders come out a little bit on his front kicks, but he is pushing everything. I feel like he's pushing speed, pushing power,
Oh.
pushing the transition. So I think he has a lot of really great things. Needs to clean up just a little bit, but a massive score here of 7.03.
Yeah, we had David Gill also receive a total score of 7.03. So we'll see how WHYE JING does here on this one. Maybe they'll end up with a tie here in this round.
Right, and his accuracy was only a 3.1, but his performance, that presentation score was a 3.9, which is huge. So if he can bring this accuracy up in this slightly easier form, he could easily get up into a 7.3 or so.
Yeah, I see that happening. This one, he seems like he's in total command. So that's WHYE JING on wrapping up. Teguk Samjang. His first Poomsae, he received a score of 7.03 for Teguk Poljang. And the second one, look at that, a little bit higher, 7.17. So I think he's going to push himself into first place.
It's going to be so close. Oh, it's a tie.
Oh, it is a tie. Look at that with SILAS MINH.
So we'll have to check out who has the higher presentation score, and that's how we will know who takes the first place and who takes second place. But this is just semis, so they will both go into finals, and it's just a matter of who goes first.
And up next we have Ethan Chen.
Ethan Chen is from Texas and is training with Texas Forge and Master AJ Munoz.
So he is number 9 in the division here. So we're going to go up to athlete number 15 and take the top 8 into the finals on a future episode of Summer of Poomsae.
Ethan looks very calm as he goes through this Poomsae. I wish he would push just a little bit more. I want a little more power to come through from him. But he's being very deliberate, taking his time, and I appreciate the effort that obviously has gone into his training.
Well, we've gotten a lot of high scores of late. Ethan Chen's first Poomsae is 6.4, but oftentimes athletes have been able to boost their score with the second Poomsae, Teguk Samjang. So let's see if that's the case for Ethan Chen also.
The left front kick foot position better than the right foot. We had that right foot look a little like a side kick. On the left, we did get the ball of the foot position. So working through it, here's another chance. Yeah, that right foot just needs to pull with the toes, like that one.
Yeah, they're dramatically different between the right and the left. So it's something fun for Ethan to work on in future training sessions. So Ethan received a score of 6.4 for his first Poomsae, Teguk Poljang. Most athletes have been able to boost their score up a little bit with the second. Let's see how he does. It's a 6.77, so same thing for Ethan. And he ends up with a total score of 6.58.
We're chopping it up with Jason and Grant Larson from Aurora, Colorado. And this is USA Taekwondo Summer Poomsae. Grant, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing good, sir.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you look like you're having a great time just hanging out at your house. It looks like you're at home, got your school shirt on. I love that as well. So Grant, I got a couple questions, so I'm going to dive right into the first one. Virtual competition, completely different than a regular competition. What did you do to ultimately put out the perfect form to compete with?
Well, sir, I trained hard and it took many tries. Got to get the right one, got to get it good. And, it also took 3 days, a lot of recording.
Wow. So that's just it. It's just a lot of time, a lot of effort to ultimately put out something that you feel confident with, that you can put forward as your best competitive Poomsae in a virtual format, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's impressive. Okay, so when you're not spending all of this time working on competitive Poomsae, what do you do for fun when you're not competing in Taekwondo?
Well, sir, I go down to my tennis court and I play tennis. You know, I've done paddleboarding with my family, also play tennis with my family. Yes, sir. Staying active.
That's amazing. Who wins the tennis match in your family? Do you win?
Usually my sister, sir.
Your sister. Oh,
Yes.
that was brutal. That was a brutal question for me to ask. I know that was probably hard to answer.
Yes.
Well, I love playing tennis too. I played tennis a lot when I was younger, and I still do, and I love it. So that's very impressive. Grant, I mean, one, I want to say good luck at the upcoming virtual competition, USA Taekwondo Summer of Poomsae, and two, I just could not be more impressed with your maturity and your way you handle yourself on this. So I look forward to meet you in person, and down the line we can kind of hang out at a live competition. Does it sound good to you?
Yes, sir.
Well, I appreciate it. This is Grant Larson from Aurora, Colorado. Grant, good luck at USA Taekwondo's Summer of Poomsae, and we'll see you soon, okay?
See you soon, sir.
Bye.
준비. Stop.
So this is Grant Larson from U.S. Taekwondo Center in Colorado, coached by Master Sean Jung.
That hand could come up just a little higher. You want it to reach chin height, so it has to break above the shoulder.
Right.
It's just, it almost seems like he's about to go up and it falls a little. So just making sure that it continues to go in that upward motion. It's like an uppercut fist. I also find myself literally every single Paljong, I count to 8 on every one of those counts to see what seconds they're getting to. Just cannot help myself.
바로.
Oh, how did he do? How did Grant do on his 8 count?
He was good. I think he was at 7, so there should be no accuracy deductions there.
6.0 for Grant's first Poomsae.
We do have a spread on the accuracy there.
Yeah, pretty big
spread.
Stop.
So like the others, let's see if he can go ahead and boost up his score. His accuracy is much stronger on this Poomsae, so I predict a higher score for him.
Definitely, I think, and continuing to work on those front kicks. Some of them are sneaking up now, getting up higher towards neck level, but some of those first ones a little bit too low, around shoulder or below. So making sure that we really stretch out a lot. If you're at home, you know, you can read books, you can do homework while you're stretching. I did a lot of book reading, stretching in the splits. So Grant here, able to get a 6.67, so a nice boost on that second score.
So ends up with a 6.33, maybe spending a little bit more time on the chamber of that kick, right? So he's extending maybe just a little bit early. So if he can chamber it a little bit higher before the extension, that might help. This is Ryan Siverly from Maui Taekwondo.
Coming to us from Wailuku, Maui. And Rylan needs to just extend those stances a little bit longer. He's growing, he's getting taller, and just needs to make them a foot longer or so. But nice front kick. Look at the height on that.
Yeah, really nice front kick in that front line. A little short on most of the stances. So again, I think maybe he's grown a lot lately. Just needs to have his stances grow a little bit as he does. So he ends up with a score of 5.7 for his first Poomsae Teguk Paljong. So this is the first of the last 5 athletes in this division. We have 15 in total. We've taken the top 8 into the final round in a future episode of Summer of Poomsae.
And we are so close to the end of the Summer of Poomsae, Coach Brand. Because it's the summer, we have to make sure to finish before Labor Day. So we have just a couple more episodes, and they're going to be filled with finals. We'll get to see some para-Poomsae. I'm really excited that you guys have stuck with us through the whole summer, all these Poomsae. I hope you've learned a lot and enjoyed your time with us.
That's Ryan Silverly with a score of 6.3. Nice boost from his first score of 5.7. So he ends up with a total score of 6.0. Right, Summer of Poomsae has been a lot of fun, especially during the time here where we've been challenged where we can train, how we can train. So it's always nice to tune into an exciting new episode of Summer of Poomsae. Went by really quick, don't you think, Miyako?
It really did, and I'm so glad I can go back and watch some of these episodes. If I start missing you, Coach Brand, or if I miss all these athletes that I feel like I've gotten to know, I can go back and watch their Poomsae.
This is Abe Bish working his way through Teguk Paljang. You know, even though we're commentating the episodes, I still go and watch them because they're like little tiny things that I want to watch in every single division and really spend a lot of time focusing attention differently than as we're talking through it. Allows me some time to really look at the scores and analyze things differently. So I know many of the athletes are doing that, maybe watching Summer of Poomsae episodes many, many times. And this is the first time we've really been able to do that. Abe received a score of 6.7 for that first Poomsae Teguk Paljang.
That's really true, Coach Brand. You know, before we were able to watch some rings at nationals with the live streaming, but it was never all the rings, it was never all the divisions. But now we can go back and watch all ages, all belts. It's just absolutely amazing. It's something we've never had before. So thank you so much to USA Taekwondo for giving us this opportunity, and Abe Bish here really taking advantage of the opportunity he has here to show off his form. And this Teguk 3 is much stronger, I would say. I'm seeing lots of power coming through on his punches.
Yeah, great job by Abe Bish. First Poomsae received a score of 6.7. And for the second Poomsae, again, a 6.7. So easy to do the math there. He'll finish up with a 6.7 for the semifinal round. So here are our standings so far. SILAS Min in first, followed by WHYE Jing Ong, David Gill, and Liam Anderson.
And we have 3 more competitors to go. That cutoff for now is a 6.62 to make it to the finals.
This is Samuel Bay from Young and Martial Arts.
Right, he's coming to us from Madison, Alabama. This is Jung's Young and Martial Arts. We've seen many of the Jung siblings competing in the junior and senior 1 divisions, where they're instructors at the studio. Their dad is the master and instructor, Sengak Jung. So it's nice to see all these athletes, both, you know, the family members as well as their students.
We saw a nice interview with Samuel in a past episode of Summer of Poomsae. So hopefully he sent that to all of his family members, and hopefully the athletes in these divisions today on this episode will send a link to family and friends so they can watch you and cheer for you as they watch the divisions. So this is Samuel Bay with his first score, 6.9.
It's a nice high score because, again, we are seeing a pretty big jump on the second one. So already with a 6.9 on the first score, he is pretty good here to go into finals. But we need to see the second score. Really extending those arms and legs in those stances.
Right, and everything finishing together. Everything stops at the exact same time, which is really important. Sometimes you see the athletes put their foot down and then finish the hand technique. So it's nice. Samuel Bay had really good skills in that area. So he received a 6.9 for his Teguk Paljang. And then for a second form, huge score, 7.17. Look at that. He got that presentation up in the 4.
Wow.
So total score is 7.03.
And Samuel just won first place in this division at the NCTA 2020 Live Online Poomsae Championships. So let's see if he can do that repeat in the finals, but we'll have to come back another episode to find out.
So up next we have JC, I believe the 2020 US Open gold medalist in this division. So off to a very strong start.
Yep, you're right. He did win at 2020 US Open. And he's also the USAT Virginia Tiger Poomsae winner. So recently coming into this youth division 10 to 11. And look at those front kicks. They're just so close to his nose.
It's nice when we see that thigh right up next to that chest. Really strong technique from JC. Let's see how he does. So coming in already with a nice high score of 7.07. Still would take a Samjang to go, which many athletes have scored higher on. So let's see how Jace does.
Set.
Wow.
I think he has to kick past his head. Oh, man.
That's fun.
And he has a really great finish to his moves. There's a maturity to his movement that he has at just 10 years old. That's really impressive. Slight head move forward on the front kicks, but his foot is so high.
Yeah, there's a lot of little small things, right? But overall, really very strong performance from JC. So he received a 7.07 for the first Poomsae, Teguk Paljang, and now for this one a 6.97. It's kind of surprised, actually.
It is surprising.
So his total score is going to roll in a little bit differently than I thought it might, but look at that, still a very nice high score of 7.02, which puts him in that top group, that top 5 or so athletes in the division. This is Kobe Lop Yin Fong. I remember him with a very strong performance in the preliminary round, and here he is in the semifinal round from the Lake team in California.
Nice stability on these stances, fighting to really keep that knee in place. He has some really great back flexibility where after that front kick, you land in the front stance and reach back behind you for that push block. Not a lot of athletes will have it where you can see that hand lift behind you. So that flexibility was great, but then the hand motion itself was a little placed. So just making sure that the power is consistent across the whole form will help bring that score up. He gets a 6.7 on the first form.
Oh, nice high front kick to start off. Some kids are swinging up the kicking technique without a proper chamber, but he's be working hard to make sure he's bending that knee in nice and tight before he makes extension.
Yeah, nice control to finish out that form. He is our last competitor of this division. And that was the last form. So here we go.
Wow.
7.13.
That's a huge score. His first one was 6.7, so he was able to wrap this up at a 6.92. So here are the standings here. SILAS in first, followed by WHYE Ong, David Gill, Samuel Bay, and Jace Yi. Is an incredible group, very highly skilled, talented athletes in that youth male black belt division. So we're going to move on to our final division of this episode with the 12 athletes in the youth female black semifinal division, starting off with Emma Lee.
Ooh, these front kicks.
Oh.
Wow.
Look at that. Nice reach. This is going to be an exciting division. I'm going to see if she's going to look like that image on the back wall there as she throws this kick up. Boom.
She got the extension, wasn't quite able to hold it to get that final picture, but good reach, good technique overall. Just continuing to work through some of these harder movements. But that was a really amazing performance for Emily. Wow.
Is this our highest score of the day?
I think so.
Score of 7.3 for Emily, first Poomsae. So also doing Teguk Samjang here, I'm sure the girls will all love doing this one, just as the boys division did. Or I'm guessing they did. They all got higher scores. They probably love it after the fact now, once they've seen their scores.
Right. And Emma started with that 7-3 on the more difficult Teguk Yukjang. Now on Teguk 3, I don't know where these scores are going to rocket to.
This is like the cuddly blanket of Poomsae here. Just everybody feeling really secure and comfortable as they tuck themselves in with this form. So she gets a 7.3 on the first one, surprise here with the second one, 7.23 on the second. So wraps up this semifinal round with a 7.27. So again, we have 12 athletes in this division. We'll be taking the top 8 to the finals on a feature episode of Summer of Poomsae. This is Kata Aryan. And Kata is from North Carolina. She's coached by Aileen Salzberg.
Right, and Kata's nickname is Mushi. I don't know the story behind that, but I would love to find out. Nice high front kicks to match her high bun. That's a really nice form, very solid. Looked like she felt very in control and comfortable with the whole thing and gets a 7.1.
It looks like we're going to have some high scores in this division. We're already off and running with Emily getting a 7.27 and Kata starting off with a 7.1. So we want to have that nice vertical posture on these kicks. And she really does look in command, as you mentioned. Just straightening out that support leg of those front kicks would be fantastic. She's well on her way. So I'm expecting a pretty good score here from Kata Aryan for Teguk Samjang. So she received a 7.1 for the first and a 7.07 for the second Poomsae. So both athletes now not able to get a higher score for Teguk Samjang. A little bit of a surprise. So her final score comes in at 7.08.
Right, we saw most of the youth male black belts do Teguk 8 and then 3. That 3 had a way higher score. We're not seeing that so far from these ladies, but they are starting with really high scores on their first one.
Right, this is Miriam Abdelrasul from Eagle Taekwondo in Southern California, coached by Master Jung Jin.
I almost called her a cadet because she looks so tall, but this is the youth division, 10 to 11 years old. Nice long legs. Look at that, her body barely dips on these kicks. Really great flexibility and control.
Right, almost looks like an optical illusion. She's so tall for the division. She easily looks like she might be in the junior division with that height. Good for you for getting so tall so quickly.
She also competes in sparring and does quite well, and I'm sure those long legs really help. Here we go, a 7.27. Nice high score. That was Emily's final score, so let's see what happens here on the second form for Miriam. tiniest head motion forward,
Right.
front kicks, and a slight lean on her neck.
It's like her chin's coming forward just a little bit.
Yeah.
Neck's coming forward a little bit. So it changes the posture, which is unfortunate because other than that, it's a very strong kick. You just need to see everything tucked in and aligned, so the vertical posture.
But lots of power. I can see through the video. Really great kicks. So I think she has just tons and tons of potential.
Yeah, we're being completely picky on
I mean,
that.
this is a great form. We had a 7.27 on the first score.
So this is Miriam Abdel Rasoul getting a 7.17 on Teguk Samjang. This is kind of interesting, isn't it?
It's very interesting that all three of their easier forms are slightly lower scores, but not by much. It's only a 10th here or there. Finishing with a 7.22 puts her into second place.
And this is Gwen Legaspi.
See. Shut.
Gwen is from Bakersfield, California, trains at Han's Taekwondo Academy. Here's this round kick. Wow.
Each. Really nice reach on those kicking techniques, all of them, both the front kicks and the round kicks.
Right, and now looking at her compared to Miriam, who we just saw, Gwen looks about 2 feet shorter, but still managing to get really nice reach on the kicks and the arms. And of course, it's just how does your body do the form, not in comparison to anybody else's. Gwen gets a 6.7 on her first form.
Right, how do you manage your body as well as you can?
Shut.
Trying to match your athletic potential is a challenge for all these athletes.
Right, we're sparring. It really does depend on the other person. What are they doing? How do you react? Poomsae is really a battle against yourself, and how much can you improve your own Poomsae and your mental fortitude as well as your physical power and strength. So I think it just really lends itself to training in quarantine because there's so much to work on always.
Right, it's all about you in Poomsae and how well can you do you from step to step. What can you do to make your technique stronger? So Gwen receives a 7.03, the only athlete so far to get a higher score in the second Poomsae. So she's following a 6.7 with that one. It ends up with a 6.87. Up next, we have Mika Chi.
Mika trains with Taekwondo Kids and M-Team's CPP, coached by masters Johnny Lee, Chin Sonu, and the Win brothers. I love this hairstyle too. Sorry, I wasn't going to talk that much about hair, but it's just great.
Is there something I should know?
You can tell, like, she pulls up from her ear and goes all the way up into a little ponytail, and then that ponytail gets pulled into the lower ponytail.
Okay.
Just gives a nice little poof there up on top.
Okay. So
Just a little extra flair to match the flare of her Poomsae.
Oh, look at that score coming in, 7.13. Gotta love that. I think it had to do a little bit more with the technique than the hair, because she was strong through every step.
Right, and Mika looks even shorter than Gwen, but again, on her body, these stances are long, they're extended, maybe not quite locked on the back leg, but doing a really good job of making space with the body that she has where she is right now.
Right, she's really trying with these punches. There are quite a few punches in Teguk Samjang, and she's trying to line them all up and throw each one with a lot of power. So good job to Mika Chi. She received a score of 7.13 on her first Poomsae, and for Teguk Samjang, a higher score. So we see that trend kind of shifting now. She received a 7.23 for the second one, for a total of 7.18. So now into third place, it looks like.
Yep, and we'll see those standings every 6 athletes. So after this athlete right here.
So this is Livia Vol from Jong's Taekwondo Martial Arts, coached by Master Jae-ho Jung. And every time we see an athlete with a mask on, we just like, oh my goodness, lots of respect. Very difficult to train and then actually try to record over and over again to get that really good clip to send. A nice high kicking technique.
Yeah, her alignment on that round kick coming forward was really great. Full body in alignment. Could lock out the base leg on the front kicks on the sides just a tad, but really nice overall performance here from Olivia, getting a 6.8.
I like the effort she's doing, trying to lock out those front stances. A little low on the hand techniques to the front.
Right, there should be to the neck. The first one is about chest. Second one was closer, but they should just be minor deductions. It was the right move. It was just done a little wrong.
So a little 0.1 deductions for those. So Olivia received a 6.8 for her first Poomsae. And coming within a higher score. Good job, 6.97 on the second. So she'll wrap up this semifinal round with a 6.88. So here are the standings. Emily in first, followed by Mariam Abdel Rasul and Nika Chi in third place.
And we have 12 athletes here taking the top 8 into the finals.
So here's the second half of the division starting now. This is Malia Lynn Baidan from White Tiger Taekwondo. Starting off with some nice high front kick techniques. Wow, nice reach on that round kick. Little up and down motion for sure. She's trying to extend out that rear leg, but then that causes her whole body to drop a little bit.
Yeah, she really pushes her hips forward on motions, which might make it a little difficult to pull it back. So this front kick, that right hip goes way forward to get the height, but then she has to pull it all the way back into the back stance, which can be a little bit difficult. So maybe that works with her just a tad, but overall, really strong, really nice technique.
Yeah, good effort in trying to push it for that power. She gets a 6.77 on her first Poomsae.
She's really reaching for those stances, but you can also see her toes wiggling into the ground, really gripping, trying to hold on to that balance. So fighting for the right things, just maybe a little bit more practice to feel comfortable in those stances.
Right, she's really reaching, so she's trying to grab and hold on there. And then over time, hopefully she'll feel a little bit more comfortable in the stances. Maybe not have to go down quite so low. Maybe still be able to extend that back leg, but not go down quite that low. Might not be necessary for her body type. So she'll have to talk that over with her coach and strategize a little bit more. So that was Malia Lynn Baidan. She received a score 6.63, a little bit lower than the first one, and a total score of 6.70. This is Lakshmi Kaimulagil from Apex Tigers Martial Arts.
Nice extension on the round kick. We're getting a couple heel pop-ups, both on front kicks and landing in stances. So really working on keeping the heels down all the time. But here's our second round kick. First one had great extension.
Oh, nice finish.
바로
Good job to Lakshmi. Or first Poomsae Teguk Yuk
시작.
jump.
퇴장.
And she gets a score of 6.63. Some variation there in the accuracy score is kind of interesting.
시작.
Yeah, some heel popping up on the kicks and on the transitions. Calming that down will go a long way in her score being impacted in a good way.
All right, and that might be something where we saw a spread in the accuracy. Maybe some judges took off a 0.1 on every single one of those, and maybe the other didn't, because there was a difference of almost a full point. But that would be 10 little minor deductions that are differences. One judge took, one did not.
Right, it does happen quite a few times, so it depends on how rigid
잘했.
the referees are being as they're viewing the athlete. So Lakshmi received a score of 6.73 for the second Poomsae, so a little bump from the first, which was a 6.63. So her total score comes in at 6.68. So this is Abigail Scrawback. And Abigail's from Tiger Kim's World Class Taekwondo, coached by Master Han Dong Myun.
Nice kicking technique and a pretty good extension on the front stances. They're not the longest, but she has a nice click in the back leg, which almost distracts from the point that the front stance may not be long enough.
Look at that. Really nice extension off the front kick. To see how her posture is on the front kick. A little bit, I meant on the round kick. Really good extension on the round kick. Front kick's a little bit hunching with the shoulders. Wasn't she the original athlete that we decided had fierce spheres?
I think so. And those fierce spheres get her a 7. I'm just kidding. Her Poomsae gets her a 7.17. She also just recently won first place in the NCTA Live Online Poomsae Summer Championships.
That's nice.
Just like you did, Coach Brand. Congratulations to both you and Abigail.
Oh, thank you very much. And congratulations on your strong final result in that tournament. Getting those points.
Yeah, it's all about the points now. And we do have to be consistent across tournaments. And Abigail here really showing her Poomsae off at just a really high level. She has good power, nice push through on the shoulders. I feel like I see a lot of power from her. Jeez.
Yeah, those middle blocks to the front, that last set of middle blocks, it looked like if somebody was going to punch her and she was going to use that middle block, her block would have made their arm explode. Nobody would punch her again after getting hit by one of those middle blocks. That was Abigail Scrawback. Huge score, 7.1, following up on the 7.17. So she's in a real good position here with the 7.13. So in those top 5.
Right, 3 more athletes to go in this 12-person division semifinals.
And this is Sofia Hernandez from Texas. And Sofia trains at Texas Forge Taekwondo with AJ Munoz.
Wow, flexibility. Look, those round kicks just came right up.
Yeah, it's fun to watch these younger athletes with their effortless kicking technique. Nice high round kick there, pushing up.
Yeah, her legs too. Another athlete with a shorter torso, really long legs. She could extend her front stances just a tad to compensate for the fact that her legs are so long. But the kicking quality, really great overall components here. And she gets a 6.77, 3.67 on presentation, and really consistent there across the 3 judges. She is going to need to bump up this second score to try and make it into the finals.
Yeah, we have just 2 athletes following Sofia. So she's athlete number 10 in a division of 12. And again, looking forward to seeing which athletes make it into the top 8. So qualifying then to get into that final round on a future episode of Summer of Poomsae. So Sofia Hernandez, she received a score of 6.77 in that first Poomsae. And now hoping for a higher score here, which she gets a 6.93. So let's see what that final score is going to be. Yeah, and those are really consistent scores among the referees there. So she ends up with a 6.85. So now down to our final 2 athletes here, starting off with Emma Abel.
준비.
Emma is from Oregon and trains at U.S. World Class Taekwondo, coached by Mr. Jorge Ortiz.
She also has nice high kicking technique. A little short on the stances, so we'll see if the referees pick that apart or if it's okay with them to have kind of a shorter front stance.
Right, and it's a little short, but we're also missing the bend in a lot of the stances. She needs to just sink a little bit lower and stay at that low height as she transitions through the stances.
바로.
So that's Emma Abel. And Emma is from U.S. World Class Taekwondo, coached by Master Jorge Ortiz. She gets a 6.47 for her first Poomsae.
시작.
Good height on the neck chops. And a good distance in the walking stances as well. You know, a lot of athletes shorten that up and do heel to toe, but she has a good distance of a full foot between her heel and toe. We just need that further extension on the front stances.
Right. She pivots it sometimes on her heels to get from spot to spot. So maybe a little bit of cleanup, learning how to pivot on the balls of the feet rather than the heels would even help her stance measurement more. So she receives a 6.67 for that second Poomsae. So a nice bump up from the first one. And her final score coming in at 6.57 with just 1 athlete to go.
We are so close. This is the final athlete of the final division of this episode.
This is Kinza Ingram. So Kinza, you've had a long wait through this episode to watch yourself. Let's see how you do. Miyako and I are going to do, I believe, from Diamond Taekwondo.
And I want to say Diva Taekwondo. We're going to have to ask Esther how you pronounce this group, but it is Dragon Youngin Martial Arts, I believe is what it stands for.
She's looking to push up as high as she can on these front kicks before finishing this last line here. This last line looks pretty good.
Right, really trying to push through the power on those last moves. It's always good to really focus on that last bar, give the judges something to remember as they go into doing that presentation. And Kinza gets a 6.4 on her first form.
시작.
A little low on those hand techniques there, going right into the camera. Want to bring those up to avoid that 0.1 deduction. Nice high front kick there. Good job. Heel popping up on the transition, so want to keep that down and steady, just like there as well on that last turn to the rear.
It looks like those walking stances are a little short as well. But when you're in the middle of the blue there, it's hard to tell exactly where she started, so we can't really tell if she missed her mark or not.
So she comes in with a 6.27 for that second Poomsae and a total score of 6.33. So let's take a look at the standings here. Number 1 through 8 are the athletes we're going to take. So Emma Lee through Sofia Hernandez here. So top scores there. Emma Lee followed by Miriam Abderrasal and Mika Chi. So that was a really exciting episode, right, Miyako?
Absolutely. We got to see so many semifinals for these youths, again, 10 to 11 years old, starting so young and yet so strong and composed as athletes. And I thoroughly enjoyed getting to see color belts all the way up through our black belts.
Well, if you like this episode, you'll love our next episode. Episode 4 includes all the tiger divisions. And the tigers are super strong, muscly, athletic group of athletes here. So we'll see all the tiger finals from the yellow belts all the way through to the black belts. So I'm excited about that. But in the meantime, Miyako, thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Summer of Poomsae. I really appreciate being with you here and enjoying all the action.
Absolutely. I hope that you've all enjoyed this as much as we have. We will be back in a future episode. There are just a couple left. Make sure that you check out USA Taekwondo's Facebook page. We'll be here all week long to finish out the Summer of Poomsae.
Yeah, wonderful action here in the semifinals here of the youth, Sherman. And what's going to be interesting to see of these athletes that are moving to the finals, who's going to take that Summer of Poomsae title.
Yeah, listen, this was a good division. It's good to watch these youth competitors. This is their last year. These are their last years of competition before they get to those protected divisions with cadets, juniors, and seniors. So this is when they're prepping themselves for that next level of competition. And it looks like it. It looks like they're taking this as seriously as we've seen in the cadets, in the juniors and the seniors. So that's a good thing to see. We'll watch these as, listen, that wraps up all of our semifinal rounds.
Sure
so
does.
Now we're on to just our final matches. We'll have the finals of our Tigers and Dragons and the finals of our youth. And I like the finals because they bring it when it comes to the finals. Yeah.
I love the finals. Yeah, I've been very impressed with our commentators to this point. We do have final action coming up. So you guys coming in the next episode, guess what? We've got finals in USA Taekwondo Summer of Poomsae. I'm Jason, that's Sherman. We're going to see you on the next episode. So, of course, join us. This has been Chopping It Up with Jason Poos Sherman Nelson. Till next time.
Hey. Hey.
Oh, oh.